What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. 3 weeks ago, I did not think that on September 7th, which is the official start of the NFL season, Scott, that we would be having a little conversation about, are the Yankees still alive for the playoffs? Because it did not look like that was going to be the case. However, we did the exercise in the last episode where we went through like everything that needs to happen, and I don't know about you, I was saying it in jest, like, because I just don't think it's good. But since then, the Yankees have kept winning, and other teams ahead of them have continued to lose. It is still very much a long shot for the Yankees to make the postseason, but we were just going through it. And as the standings say right now on September 7th, the Yankees are 6.5 out of the Blue Jays of a wild card spot. They're a game and a half back of Boston, but effectively they're 2 games back because Boston, no matter what happens in the upcoming 4-game series, will have the tiebreaker against you. So you have to beat them outright in order to beat Boston in the standings. And Texas, who is 3-7 in their last 10 games, definitely on a skid, is 6 games ahead of you. They're a half a game back of the Blue Jays. But the Blue Jays, if we're just going to eye one team that the Yankees could possibly catch to make the playoffs, it is the Blue Jays, because the Blue Jays and the Yankees play 6 times for the remainder of the season. So what that means is if everything outside of that series is equal, meaning
Yankees have a 4-3 series record currently, so they have a game up on Toronto currently.
Correct. And let's say in all of the rest of their games, they have the same record. That means you would need to sweep the Blue Jays in order to tie them in the standings. In which case you would have the tiebreaker because you would have the season series against the Blue Jays. It's possible.
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, young and dumb, man. We've talked about this, and again, this is a conversation that goes back to 2016 when they called the kids up and they started playing well and making a bit of a run. It's no one expects it when young guys are come up. You know, when I say young and dumb, I don't mean that the individual players are stupid or dumb or not smart. I mean that they don't know any better. They don't know any better than just to play as hard as they can. And sometimes when you play as hard as you can and you have a different vibe in the dugout, things can come together. The Yankees have also been struggling for so damn long that some of the bats that had been struggling are starting to play a little bit better. And you know, that's baseball, Susan. When you get surrounded by some young guys that are highly motivated to earn a spot or show that they belong in a particular place, a lot of good things can happen. Again, this is why I wanted them to do this 3 weeks before they actually did it, but they didn't have the balls to do that. So now we're in this position of looking at how we can make the playoffs after sweeping series and basically winning all of the games out with very little room for error, because there are 3 teams ahead. And that is a real thing, and they have to overcome those teams, and they need some help with it. Yes, they need to beat the Blue Jays. Like that's no doubt. If they lose a game against the Blue Jays, they need help. They need help. They need Blue Jays to continue to skid. So the Blue Jays need to lose. The Yankees need to win on the same day, multiple times over. And if that continues to happen, and it has happened the last 2 days, it's happened a few times, then you know that you're hoping that series, the couple of series that they have left with the Blue Jays can really mean something. And at that point, if you're within striking distance and you're going against Toronto, all of the pressure is on the Toronto Blue Jays at that point, which is a very good thing going in, because Yankees at that point, young guys playing loose, playing like they're having fun against a team who's like petrified to lose in a massive lead and below their spot in the playoffs. So that's a good position to be in at the end, just because of the way that 2 teams are entering into a particular game. But they need to get to that spot for this situation to actually happen.
Well, what's interesting is something similar to this happened in 2016 after all the kids were called up and the Yankees sold at the deadline. Not that the Yankees sold at this deadline. In 2016, the Yankees ended.
Yankees didn't buy or sell. They didn't do shit.
Yeah, they did nothing. And the one guy they acquired for the Major League roster is on the IL. So good job, Cashman. You're like 5 for 5 acquiring injured players at this point. The Yankees finished in 2016 with 84 wins, 5 out of the wild card. And what we saw in the August and September of that season was some fire from the team. The kids were playing, not all of them well, but a lot of them, obviously Gary Sanchez was playing well, but like the rest of the team, like it just felt more fun. It just felt like they were winning games that they were not winning in the first half of that season. And now we're starting to see some of that again with a lot more kids being called up. So many injured players that are no longer playing, like Rizzo shut down. Nestor Cortez is probably going to be done for the season, Boone said. Donaldson is obviously gone. Hicks has been gone for a long time. So like every player we hated and was struggling in the first 4 months of the season is no longer playing right now, and only the players that
outside of Nestor Cortez, who you just mentioned, don't want to lump him into that sum, but yes.
Sure. No, yeah, I didn't mean that. That you know what I meant there. But
to be clear.
do you? And what we saw 2016 turn into was 2017. Do you think there will be clouded judgment when it comes time to evaluate all aspects of the operations? To borrow a quote from Hal, do you think there will be any clouded judgment if they finish strong this season? It's saying, oh, well, Boone got the young guys to play, and these players that Cashman did, build in the farm system seem like they could contribute. Because I don't know, 1 month of I don't think 1 month of good baseball erases 5 months of bad baseball, but might it for the powers that be?
Of course it will. I think that we've seen in the past that it can cloud judgment. Yeah, but it will definitely cloud judgment because there you cannot make an opinion about a particular team. That means the full roster, including the 40-man, including the minor leagues, including all of the above. You cannot make a judgment on said team with a month and a half, 2 months of baseball. You just can't do it. And if you are doing it, then something is dearly wrong. And maybe that is what happened in 2016. Maybe they got a little too high on the young guys and didn't do what they needed to do, which is add more veteran presence, more superstar power at positions that they could add that were needed, not just to add, but needed to fit the team. Maybe we'd be in a very different situation if they had done that. So I hope not. But what we are seeing currently, really from Dominguez, I mean, the other guys that we're seeing up there, like, I don't know your opinions on them. I know Peraza had a good night last night, and we're seeing some more comfortable at-bats from him. Defense is there. Yeah, I'm not sold on any other guy besides Dominguez. And not to say that I'm completely sold on Dominguez, but I love what I'm seeing.
Oh, no, you don't think he's Mickey Mantle? Didn't you see? He's Mickey Mantle.
I mean, he might be. There's a lot of really good things to love about that kid. And you talk about the way that the team is playing. I mean, yes, when you have a youthful exuberance, when you have that, young and dumb attitude out in the field, it gets through the entire team. It's one of those things that is contagious and can allow you to get back to the basics of why you played this game in the first place. And it's fun. Like, these guys are having fun when they play baseball. That's what they should be doing. If they are not, they're pressing too hard. It usually does affect what happens on the field. And when you bring up a young guy who's happy to be there, who's doing ET to the freaking bleacher creatures, who's, just has this shit-eating grin on his face constantly, and is you can tell is really relishing this entire thing. It's hard not to have that be infectious with the rest of the team. And I eat it up. I eat it up. Like, give me more of the youthful, homegrown Yankees, because when you see them and when they have success, I don't know, man. It's like, it's so hard to explain, but there's nothing like it. As a Yankees fan in any other sport, really, seeing the kids that you've been hearing about
why,
forever,
though?
it's crazy.
Because the Yankees,
it's like crack.
Because for 2 decades, the Yankees were criticized. Like, the number one thing an opposing fan would shit on the Yankees for is all you do is buy players. You just sign the biggest free agents.
Well, you could argue that that's exactly what they did for Jasson Dominguez too.
No, but. But like in the 2000s and then the 2010s, yes, they had the core 4 still contributing, but those players were no longer like those were not new players anymore. They didn't develop any new players outside of Robinson Cano and Brett Gardner.
Right.
Who else did they develop through their system that was like you could say, bona fide contributor to the Yankees? Seriously, no one. So guys here and there. So then the criticism by opposing fans, which is all you do is spend the most money and you just sign the biggest free agents: CC Sabathia, Mark Teixeira, Jason Giambi, Alex Rodriguez, even though he was a trade. Like go on down the list. So when the Yankees finally were developing players in the late 2010s, we were like, oh my God, this you can't say that anymore. You can't say all we do is buy players. Look, Gary Sanchez, Luis Severino, Gleyber Torres, of course, Aaron Judge, like all these players we acquired and developed through our minor league system. And so now if we're seeing it again, yes, that's why it is like crack.
And well, it's also there's also a level of like of hopium for what happened in the 90s. I mean,
it's more sustainable, obviously.
But everybody wants to fall in love with the
that's never going to happen again.
But hold on a second. It's in the back of everybody's mind. It is in the back of everybody's mind. And damned if it wasn't in 2016. I know it was because we talked about it. I felt it.
It absolutely was in our mind in 2017. Yes, but I think
the ultimate fan recreation is the 90s Yankees. Ultimate fan recreation. If you could choose how you assemble and create a team that does well, any franchise, any sport, it's you have a nucleus of homegrown guys that you develop and you fall in love with from the beginning, from the minor leagues. Like that's the ideal situation because the storylines are there, the attachment is there.
What's the closest
thing to yearn for that?
What's the closest example in baseball to the 90s Yankees in more modern baseball? Would you say it's the
current Braves?
But they've won one World Series. Would you say it's the Astros? I would say it's probably.
Oh, you
the
mean
Astros.
For the winning? I thought you meant construction.
No, because the winning, because construction is one thing. You also have to win with that construction. So the Astros since 2017 have won 2 championships and gone to the ALCS every year. They haven't won a championship. Okay, so they're in the Final Four minimum every single year.
Dodgers are there too.
But the Dodgers have only won one World Series.
Only one World Series, correct.
And the Giants in the early 2010s won 3 championships, but they also missed the playoffs in between those championships. So while 3 championships is amazing, like we saw some kind of inconsistency there. So I think the Astros are the closest example. When I last talked to Andy Martino like a year ago, he was saying in defense of Brian Cashman that if he's going to be judged against the 90s Yankees, then that's an unfair comparison to make because it's likely never going to, when are we ever going to see that again? Right? Like we might see it again, but damn, is that some high standards to be held to.
Well, it's not only the fact that they had that construction, but they actually, they won with it consistently.
You won 4 times. Like,
yes. So yes, no, like, if you're looking back at, and you're looking at for a team with a nucleus, I mean, the Red Sox went on a run too, where they won championships and they had a nucleus.
But then they had seasons sustained. They finished in last place.
That's the thing. It wasn't as sustained all the way through. So it's going to be very difficult for that. Like you're looking around, the Braves should have done it with the nucleus that they had in the 90s. You're looking at their current structure now.
They would have if it weren't for the Yankees.
Ability. Yep, they have the ability to do it. The Astros are continuing to be in the conversation, so they do have the ability to do it, and they have the young talent and they have the experience. So, that is a possibility. But yeah, it's the gold standard for sure.
So if we're
standard,
if we're gonna Alex Rodriguez, welcome to the program. So if we're gonna be saying, oh, we want the Yankees to be more, we've always said, oh, why can't the Yankees be like the Dodgers, like spending a lot of money, having a good farm system that's consistently producing talent, and always being towards the the Final Four teams in the league. You could say that, or you could say the Astros, and the Yankees have not been able to do that. They've been able to like get a little bit there, but not really there. And so that is why also the allure of young players is the way to do that. It's not acquiring through free agency, because free agency is a short-term gain. You acquire a player when he's already in his prime. You're only going to get a couple years of prime, and then you're going to see fading, and you're going to be spending a lot of money on that player to be playing in his twilight years. That is the known issue with signing free agents. But when you are a team like the Yankees, you can do that to supplement it with the young talent. And to get, not to rehash the same old argument after 2017, but they didn't do that after 2017, where they had the young nucleus who was going to be entering their primes on reasonable contracts. And instead of going out on the free agent market and supplementing with players that the team needed, they didn't do that. They decided to cut payroll. And that could have been a massive factor in them not being the consistent force we thought they were going to be with that young group of players. getting back to Jasson
Also
Dominguez,
trash cans.
and
Also
also
trash
trash cans. Yes. Getting back to but damn, and you just know that is what the excuse in the Yankees front office is. You just know that, and that bothers me because you have to also look in the mirror at what you did wrong. You can't just say, "Oh, we got screwed."
Well, even if they had, let's just live in a scenario where they won that year. If the fact that they didn't still go back and supplement that, like they were close enough to understand that team was good enough to win,
right?
At the end of the year, right? Like they were good enough, whether they won or not. They were. If you take their verbiage, they were in the mix. They were in the tournament. It was right in front of them. All of the things were actually true at that point. And so whether they won it or not, you could absolutely make the argument that the plan should have been exactly the same going into the next year. Well, we won it. Let's double down, make these guys even better. They just missed getting to the World Series. Let's double down and make it better so that we can get over the hump. And instead they pulled back.
Yeah. There was a tweet that was referencing, I think, something that Michael Kay said on his radio show, that the call-ups were ordered by Hal and not approved by Cashman in the analytics department, but Hal wanted to see what he had in terms of assets going into the offseason and also about an outside chance of making the postseason. This tweet was by Mike, the Yankee guy. I don't think he's an insider. I just think he was listening to the Michael Kay show, and that's what Michael Kay said. But that's interesting if that really is true. And I'm not saying Michael Kay is wrong or is lying. Like, he obviously has that information from somewhere, that Hal ordered the call-ups, because I was surprised Jasson Dominguez was getting called up and Austin Wells were getting called up, because all of the reports were that was not going to happen. And the reason the reports is that was not going to happen is because Brian Cashman didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And Hal stepped in and said, "No, you have to do it." So
good
if he's. But what's the reason
his balls have dropped and now he's going to take control of his team and actually do some things that need to happen? Yeah.
Is that an indicator of things to come in the offseason? Like,
I mean, it's
got to be. I'm not just going to give you carte blanche as to whatever you want to do with this baseball operations. Like, I'm going to have some say now, and that's a dangerous game to play.
That is a dangerous game to play.
When owners meddle, things can go awry. But
indeed, that said, though, if again, this is all contingent on if these reports are accurate, and that is what happened. He's at least taking some initiative to understand what he has. And granted, we don't want him to just make decisions based on.
You can't make a decision on 1 month of baseball.
But you can still use this time to see. It's not a full judgment, but you can use it to make, to help your decisions, no doubt about it.
Well, because I asked you at the start, like, is this going to cloud some judgments? Jasson Dominguez is joining Mickey Mantle as the only rookie to ever hit 3 home runs in his first 5 games. And it's like, okay, the Yankees start to win some more games.
That comp was spot on, huh? Damn.
No, that's what I said. Yeah, Mickey, yeah.
I know.
But so it's like Dominguez has a strong finish to the season, and he's an exciting player who looks like he belongs. Like, that is obviously not analytical, but like, he's comfortable at the plate. He's he's
the opposite of analytics. He's the opposite of analytics. Yeah, I was getting giddy listening to Paul O'Neill talk last night about his swing, because I was thinking a lot of the same things that O'Neill, and make O'Neill the hitting coach. If Casey is
make O'Neill the hitting coach. He does not have the work ethic at this point in his career to be a hitting coach. He's just
going to say, no, you know what he's going to do? He's going to say, see the ball, hit the ball. That's it. And like, what's wrong with you if you can't do that? I want to talk more about Dominguez swing and those things in a little bit, but to your point, yes, I do believe it can cloud judgment. I hope that it won't, but that doesn't mean you still can't use what you're seeing in front of you as part of it. The fact that Jasson Dominguez is up and playing as well, does it mean that he is going to hit 300, hit 30 home runs? He's going to be a 30-30 guy, and he's going to walk in and hitting the number 4 spot, 3 spot every single day and you can count on that for next year? No, you can't count on that. That's not what you do. But what you can see is that this kid does look like he's major league ready. He does look like he's up for the moments. It doesn't look like much bothers him. And yeah, as far as the competition goes, he belongs. There's no doubt he belongs. That doesn't mean you have to and need to and can rely on him as, a savior next to Aaron Judge. If and when that happens, outstanding. But what's a better situation for him? If he's got really good hitters around him that will make him even better. So you still need to put him in a situation to win. And that's what I would take away from this. I would take away, we have the ability, we might have a very, very, very good player on our hands. So rather than us just depending on him and relying on the fact that he might be a good player, let's actually double down and do the right thing and bring more support in around that player so that he can be that guy. He can be the talent that we believe he could be and actually improve and flourish under a situation where he's getting more strikes. He's getting more balls that are thrown over the plate so that he can match them with his level swing. All of these things are great, but you can't just rely on one kid to be the savior and say, well, he's here with Aaron Judge, so we're good.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe Hal was looking for some light at the end of the tunnel in this organization right now, because what if, I mean, and it's only been 5 games, like, so let's all pump the brakes, obviously. Jasson Dominguez might go in an 0 for 30 slump and finish the season.
He probably will.
Looking terrible. So, but like, so I just don't know how that's going to change. Like, you already have a roster with Aaron Judge, who you just gave a massive contract, Garrett Cole, who's only got a couple years left in his prime, and a bunch of other players who are, you know, close to the end of their prime. Anthony Rizzo, Giancarlo Stanton, DJ LeMahieu, right? Like, you're either going to win in the next year or two, or you're not going to win with Aaron Judge. You agree with that?
I mean, it's close. It's close. I feel like we've been saying that for the past 4 years, to be honest. But
so my point is that whether Dominguez has a great September or a terrible September, that should not change Hal's direction in the offseason to, hey, Brian, make this team better and competitive next year.
100%, but it does give you an asset that is you have a lot more confidence in at this point. If things continue, even if he struggles, for the last 2 weeks of the season, I've seen enough to see that he does belong here. And whether he goes into
5 games,
it's not so much that he's producing at a high level, but you could just there's an eye test here.
I said last night he looks comfortable at the plate. He looks like he belongs in the major leagues. That is not analytical. That is only something you can identify when you've watched thousands of baseball games, which we have. And sometimes you get a guy that's called up and you're like, that dude is not ready for the major leagues. He is completely overmatched. And that's not what I am seeing with Jasson Dominguez, whether he strikes out or hits a home run.
Not at all. And when I look at the mechanics, and I swear to God, O'Neill was in my head last night talking about this, because Michael Kay pitched, set it up for him, asking, small sample size, only 5 games, understand, but what are you seeing? What do you think of Dominguez so far? And one of the things that O'Neill went to was talking about his swing, and that he does not have the uppercut swing that so many guys are building and have gone to, how baseball has gone to, with that uppercut launch angle swing. He doesn't have it. His natural swing is level and it gets to a level plane and is long through the zone, similar to the adjustment that Aaron Judge made. He makes a lot of contact level in the zone. And that means there's a lot more line drive. That means there's the higher on base. That means mistakes can be hits. He's got a really good feel.
That home run last night
was a missile.
It was just a line drive to right. That's a missile line drive to right field.
And how long have I been talking about that with Gleyber Torres? And I think he's made that adjustment for a much longer period of time here. If Gleyber would stop, getting the angle,
he fell
on
into
his
that
swing,
trap
stop
after
this uppercut bullshit,
after Gleyber hit all those
level.
Gleyber hit all those home runs in his first 2 seasons in the big leagues, he fell into that trap of, I'm a launch angle guy.
Yes. And honestly, if there's, I'm not saying that this is the reason, because he didn't even touch him until 5 games ago, but Sean Casey's approach is more like that.
Now you're a Sean Casey guy.
I'm a Sean Casey.
Cannot give Sean Casey credit for Jasson Dominguez.
No, I just said I can't. He didn't touch him for 5 games.
He met him 5 days ago.
I literally just said that. But my point is I'm a Sean Casey type of guy, that type of hit, that type of hitting. See the ball, hit the ball, level swing, don't strike out, hit line drives. This is all Cameron Maybin. This is middle of the field approach. This is exactly what that is.
Where's our guy
exactly
Cam now?
What that is middle of the field approach, hit line drives. And that's what Gleyber has gotten back down to. And you see the success that he's had. He's been tremendous for the second half of the year. All year he's been consistent, but the second half he's been really good. And yeah, so you walk in next year with even Gleyber going into a walk year, looking to earn that big contract. A young Dominguez with Aaron Judge, like, as far as your offense and your nucleus of guys who will be here and have that type of swing that you want, that's a good nucleus. And Dominguez being a left-hand hitter, you could throw it in the middle of there. It's a good start, but you can't be satisfied with that.
It's 5 hitters. You need 4 other hitters.
Yeah, and we don't know how we don't know how Rizzo is coming back from this this head thing. Hopefully everything is great, like, and he comes back and feels like himself. But you just don't know that. You don't know how his body is going to react, and you can't allow. Hal can't allow, and I'm saying Hal now because it does seem like Hal is looking past what Cashman is doing and looking beyond that. Whereas before it was just like, okay, Cash, like it's your show. That's the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that now there's pushback. And to me, that's a good thing because now you're questioning things. And I think when you question things and you audit, you can find what's wrong, what's going on, but at least there's, a sense of accountability in that regard. And that's what we've been flying our flag for how long now? Give me some accountability in this organization. Please give me some accountability so that we can have checks and balances, so that we can understand who's doing their job and who's not, and not just going the same path because that's the way it's been done and it worked 25 years ago. Can't do that.
Yeah, if there wasn't pushback after this season, just sell the team, Hal. What are you doing? What are you owning a baseball team for if you're not going to have pushback after the failures this year? But yeah, I would definitely want to go see Jasson Dominguez right now. It's the number one reason to turn on the Yankees every night, and the number one reason to go to Yankee Stadium. Game Time is our preferred ticketing app because it's the easiest way to buy tickets to whatever you want to go to: sporting events, concerts, comedy shows, theater, and much more. Like I said, Jasson Dominguez at the stadium is definitely a hot ticket. NFL is about to get heated up and going, so a lot of stuff on Game Time. The app has so many cool features and is easy to use. It shows you trending tickets, what sections the best deals are in, calls out cheap options and flash deals, and much more so you can make an informed purchase. They also have event cancellation protection so you can buy with confidence. I like using the app because you get awesome images of your seats before you buy. It's also a very fast buying process, couple taps and you are done. Then the tickets go directly to your phone. You can also share them with people if you're going in a group to a game. You can very easily share them, so you don't have to dig through emails, send screenshots, and all that crap. No, Game Time makes it very easy. Snag tickets today without stress using Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code BRONX for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And seriously, Game Time has been with us, I think, on every single episode, every single week for almost the entire season. They've been one of our more consistent sponsors in the history of this show. So we really appreciate it if you guys have not tried the app, to use our code BRONX for $20 off, because that's going to also just show Game Time that they're doing the right thing by sponsoring our pod. We were finishing up on the wild card talk. Logan, do you want to just talk about the Blue Jays schedule, just so we know what? Because basically what has to happen, like we said, the Blue Jays and the Yankees, if they play equal outside of their head-to-head games, the Yankees could catch them if they sweep them. But what is the Blue Jays schedule outside of the Yankees?
So this weekend is their last little bit of reprieve. They play 3 versus Kansas City. So, but outside of that, then they play 4 against Texas. So they're going to be beating up on each other. 3 against Boston, and then they go to the stadium for 3. They go to the Trop for 3. Then they go home and play the Yankees for 3 more and the Rays for 3 more.
That's a tough schedule.
Damn.
It's tough.
Other than Kansas City, who the Yankees also have on the schedule, but the Yankees have it at the end of the schedule, every single team they're playing is a playoff team or fighting for a playoff spot.
Right. We're actually rooting for Boston big time in those games, just because they're closer.
Right.
Speak of that, Boston actually might even have a little bit tougher of a schedule. They still have 7 games against the Orioles that they have to play. And then they also have 3. They also have 3 at Texas, 2 more against Tampa, and then they.
When
have
are the Orioles starting to drop? Do they play the Orioles at the end of the season, like last weekend of the season?
So they play 3 at Fenway against the Orioles this coming weekend, starting tomorrow, and then they play 4 at Baltimore the last 4 games of the season.
That might actually not be tough because Baltimore's already going to have their stuff locked up, and so there's a situation which
how close the Rays aren't that far back.
Yeah, I guess it depends. It
could
depends
matter.
On
it might not.
Depends
it also
on how Tampa
depends
does.
on where for home field and they're pretty well ahead of home field at this point. They're 8 games up on Houston.
Yeah,
and it's only 3 games.
I'm just saying that series, while on paper seems tough for Boston, might end up not meaning much for the Orioles, in which case the Red Sox have an easy time. So
Yeah, but it could because the Rays are only 3.5 back right now.
They're only 3.5 games back, yeah. So we'll just see what happens.
But they do have 3 head-to-head Rays and Orioles.
And so the Yankees schedule is definitely easier than those teams that we just mentioned, because they've got some. I mean, they still have to play the Brewers, right? And the Brewers are in first place, but I mean,
Pittsburgh. You just don't know enough. We don't know enough about them to say that they're
probably an easier opponent than Toronto. Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well, Pittsburgh. Then they
Arizona
go to
on there.
Yep, Arizona. It's definitely easier than the other one. There's no doubt. But there's no room for error.
No, you got to win basically everything.
Yeah.
But we're talking about it.
We are talking about it. At least it's in the conversation.
Because I mean, I did not literally when we were doing this show last Thursday, I didn't think we were going to be talking about it. I thought there was no chance we're talking about it.
I just don't know how many games they have to get to like really make it like how many games do they have to win before it's like.
Well, you put in here that if the Yankees go 19-6, they get to 87 wins, and that means the Blue Jays would need to win 10 more games to get to 87 wins. So yeah, that means they would be 9 games better than the Blue Jays to eat.
I think they have to win 90 games almost. I think that's
the
probably
Yankees have to win 90 games.
Yeah, I think they have to go.
They can only lose 3 more games.
Something like that. It's 3-4 games.
I don't know if it's that high. I mean, what is it semantic saying 88 or I don't know. A lot of it depends on the head-to-head matchup with.
It all depends on the head-to-head matchup.
Yeah.
Because if they lose those 3 games anywhere in the head-to-head matchups, it's over.
I mean, honestly, they lose 2 if they lose one of the games in the head-to-head matchup, it's probably over.
The reason I'm saying 3 games is because if you're losing 5-6 games, it does depend on what that other teams do on that particular day. So you're just getting rid of more of those options where the teams are potentially winning. Yeah,
you're fighting. So
you have to. You're
fighting another team. You're fighting.
Yeah, so you have to basically win. You almost have to win out. Like it's not that big of an exaggeration.
Their elimination number, the Yankees, is 17.
Yeah, and that number will get down very quickly if they lose a couple games in a row and Toronto wins a couple games in a row. So
that goes down to 15 if Toronto wins and you lose on a game.
That's what I'm saying. So it really does matter when you lose those games. So that's why I'm saying like the odds of them losing 6 games and the Blue Jays not losing ground on the Blue Jays in those 6 games, I think is slim. So they have to limit how many games they lose, which means they got to get probably to 90 wins for them to get to the playoffs.
Last year, the Rays won 86 wins. They were the last wild card. They had 86 wins. And then the Blue Jays and the Mariners are at 92 and 90 wins, and they were the first 2 wild card. So I know it doesn't really matter.
I think it's going to be closer to that 90,
I think, I think you're right, Logan. Like 87, right around 87, I think is at the very least, meaning the last couple games of the season matter.
But also the 87 doesn't matter if the Red Sox are tied with them too. So like they have to get another. I think the Yankees have to do better than that to actually get to this. That's what I'm saying. Like their run has to be bigger because their losses matter more than other losses.
Does the elimination number, I know what the elimination number means, but does that also mean that if, the Yankees elimination number is 17. So does that mean if they win 17 more games and the Blue Jays play at their current pace, that means the Yankees would tie the Blue Jays? Is that another way to interpret that?
No, because every Blue Jay win, regardless of what the Yankees do,
takes off an elimination number. So they actually, there needs to be a combined. Yeah, it's
a combined Yankee win.
So
hard. Blue Jay losses.
It's so hard. You really can only lose like 3 or 4 games.
That's what I'm saying. And the overlap still can't be there, even on those games.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
No, it's a conversation.
It'd be more fun if we were in the playoffs, without having to count.
Just imagine if they didn't play
let's not bury the lead there. Okay.
Well,
yeah. This is cool because we didn't think we were going to be here, but at the same time, thought we were going to be here.
Well, this is how like the teams that make the playoffs once every 11 years feel.
Yeah. Awesome.
To wrap up something we were talking about last episode on Jasson Dominguez versus big guys like Stanton and Judge. So our guy Simon Brundish DM'd me after that episode and he said Judge has a 38%.
Scott, you're an idiot.
He said Judge has a 38% greater surface area to cover than a 5'6" hitter, or a pitcher has a 38% bigger zone to aim for. There is a moment arm mechanical issue with larger limbs, but it's just way harder to hit for a big dude. So maybe Judge being less than optimal shape is finding it harder to cover the whole 100%.
Zone.
Yeah, and I asked him,
we totally agree on this.
How is the 38%? Is it just based on height? And he said, yeah, it's just based on height.
It's longer. Yeah, it's exactly. It's leverage. It's like being able, you have to cover more ground. And that's why I'm saying when you have a mechanical issue with someone that big as well, it's exaggerated because it's very difficult to repeat. It's harder to repeat as well. Yes, it's harder to do because you're bigger and you have to cover more area, but it's also that much harder to repeat it. Being you have much more of a slim area for error. You don't have much room for error. Whereas if you're small and compact, you can have more error in your mechanics and still be okay to the ball. And that's where Dominguez, with his more level swing, man, and it's violent. Like I was watching we were watching the game, and my wife Bevan was sitting on the couch, and she all of a sudden Dominguez was up when he hit that home run. She goes, "Damn!" And I was like, "Why'd you say that?" And she's like, it was violent. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what I said. And Bevan, she's played softball her whole life. She played in college. She was a very good hitter as well. She's probably got the best mechanics of a hitter that I've seen in person. Like they're very good and quick to the ball. And that's what he is, man. His hands. You want to talk about fastest hands, east of the Mississippi. It's not Clint Frazier. It might be Jasson Dominguez. Like his swing it looks beautiful, but it's fast and it's violent, and I love it.
Yeah, the shorter guys tend to have. Well, see, the interesting thing is like Altuve, I wouldn't categorize as a.
He's got a different swing.
He's got a long swing. Altuve does, which is why when he has slumped, it's been he's been beaten on fastballs up. And I remember talking to this with Blum, where he was talking about Altuve, and he said he can attack high fastballs, but when he does slump, it's because pitchers are attacking him high, and it's just too long to the ball to hit it.
Yeah, his hands get out away from his body a little bit
he
more.
He stands so far away from the plate, too.
And Dominguez is just so compact with his swing.
The Jose Ramirez comp that you made is very, very accurate.
Yeah. It's oh my God, if he could be, that's a dream. That is a dream. If Dominguez could be a type of Jose Ramirez.
Turns into Jose Ramirez type.
Give me that
player,
comp. Where's that comp? That's a great comp. Even
that
though
would be a success.
He plays a different position. People just can't overlook that. That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
The inconsistency in the big guy swing kind of dovetails into something Boone said after Giancarlo hit his 400th home run the other night. In his post game, I was listening to it, and I didn't get the exact quote, but he said something to effect of, "I've never seen anything like Giancarlo before. He can break a bat and hit a squibber in front of the plate, and then hit one 118 miles an hour the next pitch."
It's because he's so disconnected.
That's called inconsistency.
Well, he's disconnected. If you look at anybody else's swing, you see, and with Dominguez, you see explosive hips through the zone. You're using the lower body. Judge, you see it as well. Stanton is not that way. He it's like he barely uses his lower half. He's all arms and upper body. That's why, the comparison has been made of him and a lumberjack, the way he chops wood, because he's all upper body and just throws his hands at the ball, and he's so goddamn strong and big that it goes a mile. But it's more inconsistent because he's literally throwing his hands at the ball and not using his lower body to the same degree that most hitters use. So yeah, that's why you see some of that weird stuff. And when his hand-eye is spot on and he's seeing the ball well, he's literally just throwing his hands at the ball and so much upper body that if he's seeing the ball well, that's when you see him get on those torrid streaks. He just, again, a guy that doesn't have a lot of room for error. Giancarlo Stanton is definitely one of them. He's unique in the way that he hits, very much so.
So he had 267 home runs when he joined the Yankees in 986 games. That was a home run every 3.7 games. He's kind of been about that with the Yankees. 133 home runs in 534 games, one home run every 4 games. Slightly less, obviously much fewer games played, a lot of that due to injury. But as far as amount of home runs that Giancarlo has hit with the Yankees, it's not far off from how he was hitting home runs with the Marlins. It's just been the long stretches of inconsistency, the long stretches on the IL. And this season has been a complete disappointment for Stanton. I mean, he's been a
100%.
below league average hitter. It's unacceptable for someone like Stanton. But he's gonna reach 500 home runs in his career, and he's gonna do it.
The last 100 are going to be the hardest. The last 100 are going to be the hardest.
But he'll get there. It might
probably
take the next 4 or 5 seasons, but he's gonna get to 500 home runs, and he's gonna do it wearing a Yankees hat. He's gonna go into the Hall of Fame because you hit 500 home runs as a player without any steroid implications or anything like that, which Stanton has not had. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, probably, and that's why he got the curtain call from the Yankee faithful for his 400th. And
guys,
that whole thing.
He's standing there. We got it.
Yeah.
We okay. Oh, yay! Oh, the big board said clap for his.
To be fair, you could tell that Stanton did not want to go out there and wasn't trying to go out there, but his teammates were ushering him out there, and he was going out. Yankee fans were not really clamoring. Yankee fans were not asking him to come out, but when he did come out, the Yankee fans, classy motherfuckers as they are, stood up and gave him the round of applause as he was up there and didn't make him look like a complete asshole. So,
God, would there be anything worse than going out for a curtain call, raising up?
Dude, I was nervous. I was nervous for it. I was nervous for it because you could tell that the crowd wasn't really. That wasn't usually the crowd is like an extended period of time. And give Volpe some credit. Volpe used his time out at the plate to give Stanton and the crowd a little bit more time, allow him to come out there to tip the cap for the 400th. So that was recognition by the Yankee fans in Yankee Stadium of a career accomplishment. Had nothing to do with what was happening in the season. It was the ability to look past what was happening in the moment for the season and give throw some flowers at a guy who's had a good career thus far and has been a good Yankee and also has had accountability for himself as well. That is not lost on fans.
It's weird because I don't think Stanton is hated in the Yankees fan base.
He's not.
I think it's like people are definitely disappointed. He has not lived up to expectations when they acquired him. But he doesn't get the hate like other players have gotten on the Yankees. And like if you compare him to A-Rod, it's actually asinine as far as performance goes, how much hate A-Rod got versus Stanton. Because for as much of a D-bag as A-Rod was and a distraction, he had unbelievable seasons for the first 10 years as a Yankee. Yeah. MVP level seasons, season after season. Was he juiced out of his brain? Probably. Yes. But he was hitting 45 home runs and driving in 130 runs every single season and playing almost every single day. And Yankees fans still
he couldn't feel his face.
The shit out of him.
Yeah, because he's an asshole. Like that's it. If don't be an asshole. That's a bottom line.
Don't be an asshole. If there's one lesson in all of this, it is don't be an asshole.
You can be a great player and an asshole, and you're not looked at the same.
2000. I'm going to pull this up real quick.
If Albert Bell weren't an asshole, he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
How long has Stanton been with the Yankees? Is this his what number season? 7?
18. No. I'm saying the number when he got here.
This is his 5th season.
5th, yeah.
Through A-Rod's first 5 seasons with the Yankees, he's hit combined 303, 401, 573, a 153 OPS. He hit average 42 home runs a year, 123 RBIs. And he got booed to Queens, okay? And because
he didn't also perform when you have postseason performances like A-Rod did.
Sure.
As well, that certainly goes into it.
Do you know what the crazy thing is?
And all those numbers were in 5-1, 6-1, 10-1 games.
Oh, right. Stanton never hits meaningless home runs. Do you know what the crazy thing is about I sound like an A-Rod apologist. He had a really good postseason in 2004. The Yankees collapsed in 2004, but had they just not collapsed to the Red Sox, the narrative on Alex Rodriguez in the postseason would have been different because he actually hit really well in the 2004 postseason. He sucked in 5, 6, 7, and they didn't make the playoffs in 8. He was great in 2009. Like he was historically good in the 2009 postseason. But yeah, 2004 just changed everything.
It did.
We've got a couple other things to talk about, but before that, fall is, some might say fall is here because it's football.
It's not here. It's 105 degrees outside.
It's like 90 degrees in New Jersey. But fall can be a busy time, and so you're not going to have a lot of time to cook meals. That's why you want to try out America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, Factor. Factor offers delicious, flavor-packed options that meet many dietary needs. Calorie-conscious, keto-friendly Veggie and vegan meals, there is something for everyone. The process is also so easy. You pick your meals from a weekly selection of over 34 delicious options on their website. Factor then prepares and cooks them to perfection with their gourmet chefs. The food is delivered to you. You simply heat it up. It only takes 2 minutes and you are done. You are eating amazing food. The ingredients and meals are always fresh and never frozen. You can also level up with Gourmet Plus options that allow you to add premium ingredients to your meals. My favorite of the one that they sent was the black pepper pork chop. All of them were delicious, but that one was my favorite. But honestly, the convenience is next level. This is seriously the easiest and best option for food if you are struggling to eat good and healthy meals. Head to factormeals.com/Bronx50 and use code Bronx50 to get 50% off, half off. That's a good deal. Anytime you get half off of something, that's a good deal. factormeals.com/BRONX50 in case you can't spell. Factormeals.com/Bronx50. We got a mailbag from our pal Lee Jones over in the UK. Says, it seems unlikely that the Yankees will be bringing back both Higgy and Trevino next season. So what do you think the realistic plan for Wells is? Is he auditioning to be the everyday catcher with Kyle returning as the backup, or are they envisioning him as the backup with Jose returning? He says, surely Austin Wells and Ben Rortvedt isn't going to be the tandem next season. So the Yankees catching rank this year, it's actually been better than I thought it was going to be. It's 11th in Major League Baseball. Kind of just goes to show you how bad catching, I think.
You're talking about
is.
offensively?
No, overall value.
Okay.
Offensively, they've been shit.
Yeah.
But overall,
that's the thing. The defense has been
overall value. But overall value, they've had 11th in baseball with 2.3 F4. They've been a 65 WRC plus, though. That's pretty terrible.
Granted, if Trevino's healthy, that number.
Yeah, but he was not good this year.
Well, his defense alone.
Sure.
With the time on the field, will make that ranking higher.
Last season, the Yankees catching tandem ranked 5th in baseball with 5.5 F4 and a 90 WRC plus. Although Trevino in the first half of last year, I think, was over 100 WRC plus, and so he struggled in the second half. But what are your thoughts on the catching situation heading into next season?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think Wells certainly has the most to lose probably from this last month and a half audition. But he's going to be like he's the offense. Everybody believes in his offense. I'm talking about everybody being scouts and the people that talk about his baseball abilities. They talk about his offense. So I don't think people are very concerned about his offense. Although, the concern could be, maybe he's a 4A offensive guy. Maybe he could be one of those guys. And then the defense becomes much more glaringly.
Well, because then also where are you going to put him? Like you can't have a 4A offensive guy in a corner outfield or a corner infield.
Oh no, he's. I don't see him anywhere else. I really do think that the Yankees can't afford to have him anywhere else. He's not. I don't think he's good enough to be anywhere else, frankly. If he can catch and use that offense, if his catching defense is at a level where they're comfortable with it, I think that's his position. I think he's got to be there for the major leagues. Honestly, I don't think he's a good enough hitter to be in. He doesn't warrant a first base spot. He doesn't warrant a DH spot. When you look at the offense, like it's not there. He doesn't project for those types of power.
Well, then if he's not a plus bat at catcher, you can't put up with his below average defense.
Well, that's the thing. He does need to improve his defense. I think that's the biggest thing for him. Like that's him showing his defense for this stretch is probably his biggest way to put himself in that position. And then obviously spring training. I think he's going to go into it looking to to compete for it. I could also see the Yankees making a move for a catcher also, and just seeing that this guy probably it's too risky to bring him along, knowing what his defense is currently. Because if he doesn't start hitting, there becomes a very glaring hole in where that is. And he's not a backup catcher. So that's the problem with him. If Trevino goes into the season as a starter next year, which is very possible, I almost said McCann again. This is insane. Like I feel like I'm possessed.
The mustache.
Having Wells on the roster with
face.
Trevino makes it weird because he's not a backup catcher. His defense is not good enough to be a backup catcher. So that's where he's kind of a tough roster spot if the offense is not, plus offense. And honestly, if we're looking at that situation, me, I've talked about this many times. Like you're not gonna. So when you look at Jorge Posada, I thought was a good.
Stop.
I'm not.
Just stop.
just stay with me for a second. He was a a pretty decent defender, but his offense was there. You could live with any of the defense.
He was an all-star bat every single year for 10 years.
Absolutely. The offense was there. But that's what you have to be to not be, a high caliber defender. You have to be that level of bat almost so that you look past it. And I just don't believe he's there. So again, them using a guy like that as a backup catcher doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I could see them going out in the market. I haven't looked at what the market is.
Yeah, but
free agency for catchers, or even, who could be available for trade. Wouldn't surprise me if they went out and got someone.
Higgy is going to be in his last year of arbitration next year. Trevino has 2 more years of arbitration. And so if they do see some positives out of Wells for the remainder of the season, and I think they, Rortvedt is probably a guy, if you need him, he can be the backup catcher for some time if someone's injured, but he's not going to be the consistent backup catcher. There's a world in which if Wells plays well, they ride with Trevino and Wells next season, and non-tender Higgy, and then you've got Rortvedt as back. Because realistically, what is one more year of Higgy going to do for you? As much as we all love Higgy, but come on,
Trevino's a better defensive catcher. Trevino is, and that there's no reason for them to part ways with Trevino at all.
No,
he absolutely needs to be on the team. He's the one of the best, if not the best defensive catcher in the league. He's right there in that conversation. So having him on this team is a good thing. The piece where I'm, iffy on Wells is that is his defense good enough to be that second catcher where usually that defender, that position is a plus defender, and he's not.
Especially because with the way the Yankees catching has been, it's not a traditional starter backup where starter plays 80% of the time, backup plays 20%. It's more like 60-40.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you have a guy like Rortvedt in the back, so that's why I think that, when you're looking at guys who are really competing for spots, like Dominguez is not competing for a spot, I don't believe, in this fall. Everything they believe is that he's going to be there in some capacity. You got guys like Pereira, and Wells certainly competing for eyeballs, competing for the ability to even the ability to compete for a spot, I think is on the table for those guys. And, looking at utility players, fourth outfielders, that's where those guys are really looking at. And what was interesting last night, real quick. Sorry. I saw a post game, or I saw somewhere, I forget where I saw it. Maybe it was an interview somewhere else. It was from the Yes Network on social. That's what it was. It was Oswaldo Cabrera talking about who his heroes were and guys that he looked up to. Marwin Gonzalez, a Venezuelan, was one of his guys, because the reason I think that's interesting is because he saw that type of player,
hitter, right?
Switch
Marwin
hitter,
Gonzalez was switch hitter, yeah.
Can play all over the field, has a tremendous amount of value in the baseball field. But he talked about him playing with Gonzalez last year for a little bit was like a dream. He met his hero, and I thought that was cool. But it also shows, it kind of puts a glimpse of what that player thinks he is and what he can be, and that's really a super utility guy. So I think there's going to be a big competition for that utility player role next year, and I think all of those guys that we just mentioned, outside Pereira, who is a true outfielder, will be competing for those spots, or that spot.
All right, last thing just to quickly mention is DJ, since the All-Star break, is hitting 282 with an 879 OPS in 40 games played. More consistency from him has been the key, because pre-All-Star break, he just wasn't himself. He had a 643 OPS. So he's raised his OPS by 236 points in the second half. If the Yankees are going to be evaluating going into next season, maybe they could count on DJ LeMahieu more to be this type of player than what he's been since the COVID season, which is a pretty below average hitter.
Yeah. I mean, I really believe that that this is directly, his play has been directly impacted by that foot and the adjustment. So, the only thing about that is looking at what the second half is. That's a good thing for sure for, him getting back to the player he is, but another year older. I always said this though, the DJ LeMahieu contract, again, if healthy, I don't think he ages, as badly as some players can, because he's so mechanically sound and does such a good job with hitting the ball all over the field. If he's healthy, I think, I don't think age is as much of a concern for a guy like him.
He signed through 26, right? 2026. Yikes.
I don't think, again, if he's healthy, I don't think it's going to be a
but,
bad contract.
It just seems like so far away.
Yeah, he's a player that I want on the team. He's a good player to put around good young guys. Like,
I'm not saying it like, oh, I want him off the team. It's just that's a lot more. That's a lot of more seasons that he's anyway.
How old is he? 32, 33, 33?
Not sure.
Logan?
It doesn't matter.
33. I'm getting 33. 34.
35.
Holy
Yikes.
shit. Okay.
He's my age.
He's getting fucking old.
All right, that's going to wrap up today's show. Thanks again to Game Time and Factor. Go check out those sponsors if you are interested. The show notes here will have the promo codes and all that stuff if you missed them. Thank to you guys for listening. We'll talk to you in a few days.